Hey everyone, so I thought today I would go over what I have in the first aid kit for the animals. Most of this stuff is for the chickens, a little bit for the dogs, not too much. So as far as the chickens go, we end up being our own vet because it's so expensive to take a chicken into a vet if you can even find one that will see a poultry bird. So because of that, you can go to your local tack shop and you can get most of the supplies that you need. So as far as antibiotics go, I keep Tylenol on hand. I also have a bottle of Duramycin. And just to show you, these are regular, kind of like what I consider like surgical bottles. So you need to put a needle in them and draw the medicine out. And because of that, you need to get a hold of some needles and syringes. So you can get syringes that are individually wrapped, and they're already marked with the milliliter markings on them. And then you can get needles that go on the end in various sizes. For the chickens, I use 20G or a little smaller. And so that's what I use for the chickens. Now, as far as antibiotics, you can also get a general antibiotic. This is powder that you can make into a solution. And then they've got Corid that you can get your hands on. That is for coccidiosis in the hens. So there's that. Then I also keep on hand some popsicle sticks because it's very easy to make splints out of these. I did have to do that once. There was a hen that got her leg out of joint, and we had to reinforce it. After we popped it back in, we had to reinforce it to stay that way, so it didn't pop out again. So you can make your own splints using popsicle sticks. So we did that. And at the same time, because it was swollen, we used this Epsom salt poultice. Horse people know about this. It's good for swelling and bruising, and it helps reduce the swelling and the bruising. So while it was splinted, we put this on it, and that helped her a lot. And let's see what else I've got here. I've got liquid ibuprofen. That is for a painkiller. So something like that, we would just assume that she would be in pain, and we gave her a little bit of this. So that hopefully that made her a little more comfortable. Then chickens also, if they get any kind of cut or gash from anything, they tend to pick on each other. And that's mostly because they don't want the weakest one, the hurt one in the flock, to draw the hawks and owls to attack the flock. So they would pick on her to make her go away. So we don't want that happening. So I've got this here, which is Pick No More. It's got a funky blue color, and it's very similar to Blue Coat. The thing to know about these, especially the Blue Coat, it is this blue color that you see on the lid, and you touch it and you will be blue for a few days. But it's a germicide and fungicide, so it will keep the wound clean, and it will also stop the rest of the flock from picking on them so that it has time to heal. And another all-around item I keep on hand is Veterex. So that is, this I don't use too much. I always end up using all this other stuff instead. But I keep it in there. It's a veterinary aid. And then if you see that your hens are getting dehydrated, like in the heat of the summer, if they have a hard time with the heat and they're getting dehydrated. So it's not that bottle, it's this one. This is some all-natural herbal tincture that you can put in their water that just helps them. These are the herbs that help them deal with high heat stress. So I give them that in the summer. And if they get too dehydrated and you need to bring them inside to get them to cool down, you can give them some Polyvisol, which is just baby vitamins, liquid baby vitamins. I use that if they seem to be dehydrated. And there's also a product called Nutri-Drench. So I keep that around for the same thing. And let's see, for baby chicks, I use a different tincture that it's called First Step. It's got fancy writing, First Step. So I either use this First Step or I use these chick probiotics. That just gives the babies some vitamins just because they're so little, just like infants. They're so little, they need a little extra nutrition just to help them start the whole growing phase and everything. So I give them that. I do keep some colloidal silver because it works on all kinds of things. And let's see, if you notice any worms in your flock, Wazine is a dewormer. So I've got that. Then I've got, let's see, what kind of wraps and things do I use? So the biggest thing I see with the hens is a situation called bumblefoot, and that's if you look at their foot on the pad. Usually it's on the pad. They can get it on their toes too, but usually you see it on the pad. You'll see a dark scab, and that happens a lot from jumping, just from the weight of their body landing on their feet, or maybe their foot got cut on something on the ground, and that's an infection. And if you don't treat it, it can get into the bone, and if it takes over in the bone of the leg, not only could they lose their leg, but they could also die from it. So it's really important to get it out. And there's two schools of thought to get rid of it. One is surgically remove it, and then put in like an antiseptic and keep it wrapped as it heals. The other one is a more natural way without surgery. So the first thing that I do, and I kind of do a combination of the two, the first thing that I do is soak them in an Epsom saltwater bath. And that's because that softens the scab so that I can at least pull the top of it off, and I'll show you how I get them to soak. I've got one of these plastic bins you can get at the tack shop, and because it's plastic, they will slip and slide on it and not be comfortable because they can't get a grip. So I just went to one of the big box stores and got a rock, or you can get a rock outside if you have them, but this one was a little more flat, and I just put that inside the tub. And I put the Epsom salt water in there, and I've been pretty successful in getting them to stand there for the 20 minutes to let it soak. And then I can pull the scab off and get out whatever I can without doing actual surgery. And then, so bandaging and wrapping so that it can heal. I use this product called Green Goo. They make one for animals and one for people. I've got both. And so once we clean up as much of the scab as we can, I'll put Green Goo on it. And before that, I spray it with Vetericin, which is an antiseptic wound and skincare product. So I spray it with the Vetericin, I'll put the Green Goo on it, and then I put a couple of drops of this Bumblefoot Remedy. This Bumblefoot Remedy comes from the same place I got the other tonics. It's called Moonlight Mile Herb Farm, and she makes all kinds of herbal things for poultry. So then the last thing I put on it is a couple of drops of this, and then I give her 10 drops orally in her mouth, so she gets it from inside and outside. This clears it up. But to keep the Green Goo and the drops and everything on it on the outside, I use these bandages, because I can cut them, and I'll put a bandage on it, and then I wrap it with vet wrap, the stretchable vet wrap, similar to the wrap that you get when you go to the lab to do blood work. And to keep it dry, because like in the summer they'll get ice and there'll be water out there, and I don't want all this to get wet and the medication to wear away. So I use this waterproof tape on top of the vet wrap just to keep it dry. So that's what I've got. I don't think I have anything else. That's what I've got in my first aid kit. The only other thing I use is Oxine. I use that. It's a disinfectant and sanitizer. So if I really need to clean out a cage really well, then that's what I use to do that. But be careful with it because it's kind of like bleach, where it will remove the dye in your clothing or in any rags or whatever you use. So whatever you wear and whatever you use to clean up, just make sure you're using something that you don't care if it gets stains and stuff on it from the oxine. So that's what I've got for you for my first aid kit. I hope that's helpful, and I'll talk to you on the next one.